topic of building repertory skills. Again, for those who may have already joined us, if you have a question or a comment, I'm going to have to ask you to unmute yourself momentarily and speak, since we currently seem to have the chat function disabled. Okay, so welcome in, everyone. And we're going to start off with just the smallest bit of theory before we get into taking a look at a couple cases that I've prepared for you today. And these are what we would call historical cases from the literature. So the first thing I'd like to do is go back to good old Kent and take a quotation from the introduction. You can find this information at the front of your Kent's Repertory. You can also find it in your RadarOpus software if you would like to dig around in the references section. So what Kent says, and what I deem to be important in this particular quotation, is, as homeopathy includes both sciences and art, repertory study must consist of science and art. The scientific method is the mechanical method, taking all the symptoms and writing out the associated remedies with gradings, making a summary with grades marked at the end. That's something we probably all did before we graduated to using a piece of homeopathic software. He goes on, there's an artistic method that omits the mechanical and is better, but all are not prepared to use it. The artistic method demands that judgment be passed on all the symptoms after the case is most carefully taken. And here's my emphasis. The symptoms must be judged as to their value as characteristics in relation to the patient. They must be passed in review by the rational mind to determine those which are strange, rare, and peculiar. Okay, so this is Kent's summary of the importance of certain kinds of symptoms in our case taking. Now, what we're going to do is we're just going to go to our very first case. Now, this is not a case of Kent, but this is a very simple example of what we're going to be doing here. So this is a case of colic. And I'm going to go ahead and read through the case very, very briefly. This is basically it. And then we're going to work through the repertorization for you. And we'll have an idea of what we're going to be doing here. So in this case of colic, a dark-haired man of 21 years spent the day in dissipation, drinking lager beer frequently. He dined on ham and eggs, lunched on crullers and cheese, took ice cream in the evening. He awoke from sleep at 10 p.m. with colic pain and has had frequent paroxysms of it since then for 1.5 hours. During an attack, he will bite others if possible, or failing that, he will set his teeth in his own arm until the blood flows. 3 able-bodied men have been trying to control him with only partial success. Subjective symptoms cannot be obtained. So in other words, they're not able to interview the patient here. We have only what we can observe. And the objective symptoms noted by the case taker here are face red, eyes shining, pupils widely dilated, pains come and go quickly. I think most of us probably are able to recognize the remedy fairly in a straightforward manner here. But I've highlighted the objective symptoms, and what we're going to do is we are going to go to the repertory, and we're going to use this as an exercise in what we often call repertorization in the software. So I have come up lacking one important, there we go. All righty. So what we're going to do first is I'm going to bring up my RadarOpus program. Now, I happen to know where the rubrics are that I am interested in. So I'm not going to be doing much of what we would call random searching using the search tools in the program. I'm using my Synthesis Adonis the Adonis edition, and I'm basically going to be what I call typing my way to the important rubrics here. So if you'll just follow along on how I'm going to go about doing this, and I'll try and kind of speak through it as I go. You'll notice that I have my clipboard number 1 over here on the left-hand side with the check mark. That indicates that that is my default clipboard. Okay, and you'll see why in just a moment. This may be helpful to you if you want to increase your speed at repertorization. So our first symptom is the red discoloration in the face. So all I need to do here is simply start typing face, And then I'm going to use the enter key, discoloration. Discoloration. As soon as this little hand is pointing to discoloration, I can use the return or enter key. And I want a red face, right? Now, the hand is pointing to the red face. I'm going to go ahead and hit return again. Return one more time will take me to that rubric in my repertory. Face discoloration, red. You see the little hand pointing. Now, the pro trick here is to use the equal sign at the top upper right-hand side of my keyboard. And that symptom, since this hand is pointing to it, will automatically go into my default clipboard. Okay, so I don't have to do any dragging or dropping. I just use that equal sign. You see that? All right, let's go to our next objective symptom, according to the prescriber here, which is, I think he says, what does he call it here? He says, eyes shining, pupils widely dilated. That's actually two symptoms, isn't it? So let's go here. And since I don't know any better, he said shining. I'll go shining, and there's shining eyes. Now, when I actually get into the repertory for shining eyes, they're going to give me two, what we would call, these aren't cross-referenced, these are synonyms, all right? And these are hyperlinked. So let's go to brilliant first. Let's just click on that brilliant, and here's my eye brilliant. So this is what they're suggesting for shining eyes. Again, I'm going to use that equal key on the upper right hand corner next to delete. Now, the beauty of this thing, remember they gave us a couple of options. They said brilliant, and they also said, let's see, we started with shining eyes. I'm going to go back to shining eyes. Here's glassy appearance. Let's take that one too. Okay, it's just that easy. I'll go ahead and use my enter key or my equal key. And I've got now two of my symptoms. I've got the face discolor, the face red, the eye shining, the pupils widely dilated. So those are the eye symptoms. And then we have this next one, pains come and go quickly. Now, if you don't know where to look, you might be in a little bit of trouble here. So I'm just gonna hand this one off to you, and you can go ahead and search for it later and see if you can find the rubric yourself if you're not clear about it. But this would be in our generals chapter. And this is a useful sort of a rubric section for you to know about. So we're going to go to generalities. And I think, how did I do this? Oh, I just started to go sudden because I didn't know what else to do, right? It said pains appear suddenly and disappear suddenly. Well, look, here's something called sudden manifestation. Let's go have a look. And here is generals sudden manifestation. Okay, so this is a useful rubric, and let's go ahead and take that one. What I actually would like to do, though, I'll go ahead and take that one. But I'm also going to go and look at the cross references here, and they're giving me something that is very interesting within the context of this case. It says complaints appearing suddenly. Now, if we recall, what they said is pains appear suddenly and disappear suddenly. So this might be even better, right? Let's go ahead and double click. And here we have the full rubric is generals complaints appearing. Here's our rubric. We have complaints appearing atypical. We have complaints appearing gradually. That might be useful in another moment. Here's complaints appearing suddenly. You see, I'm just clicking these with my mouse now. And a sub-rubric is complaints appear suddenly, look here, and disappear suddenly. This is exactly what this patient has. Am I right? That's what the prescriber said. Now, the thing I want to highlight about these historical cases that we're using for study, they basically give you everything you need to solve the case. All you gotta do is follow what they tell you, and you will get there, and you'll see the brilliance of the prescribing. So this symptom, I'll just use my equal sign to throw that onto that first clipboard. Generals complaints appearing suddenly and disappearing suddenly. That is exactly pains come and go quickly. Okay. And here I have a little screenshot of that clipboard. Now, when I did this earlier, I did something a little bit different. So let's go back to our RadarOpus. Let's take a look at that clipboard. And I had used the, oops, let's clean remedy filters. We don't want that, do we? Let's get rid of the sudden manifestation, because that's not really the rubric that we want as much as we want the more precise if we can. So I'm just going to go ahead, highlight that symptom and delete it. Bye-bye. Now, why, I must ask myself, why is this symptom appearing suddenly and disappearing suddenly? Appearing suddenly. Okay, well, nonetheless, here's my first clipboard with the objective symptoms in the case. Okay, let us go back and have a bit of a closer look now. Oh, I see what I did wrong. Maybe someone has caught me. Generals, pain appears suddenly and disappears suddenly. See how in my earlier screenshot, I had 77 remedies and I'm sitting here scratching my head. Why is that the case? Let's go back. Let's do it properly. Generals. Pains appear suddenly and disappear suddenly. That's better. Okay, my apologies. Let's take that one just with the equal sign. Let's go to our clipboard. Let's get rid of this smaller one, even though it actually would probably solve the case for us. That's better looking. Now we've got quite a nice little selection of remedies here that might cover that sudden coming and going of the pains. Okay, so far so good, I'm assuming. I'm going to just take a quick second here and see if we've had anyone else join us who might want to have the opportunity to speak. And I don't see that that's the case. So I'm going to go ahead and minimize that again. And let's go on to the next slide in our presentation, now that I finally got myself on track. And let's continue with our case of colic. We have now additional information. During an attack, he will bite others if possible, or failing that, he will set his teeth on his own arm until blood flows. Wow. I think this is an important piece of this case, right? Because so far, if we go to what we're looking at, we've got actually these two eye symptoms, as well as these are all our objective symptoms. We've still got quite a good selection of remedies to choose from here. So what we want to do is take into account the biting, and it's pretty ferocious, and he will even bite himself if needed. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to set myself up so that I can easily utilize another clipboard. If I point to a clipboard with my mouse, press and hold the Option key on my keyboard and click, you'll notice this now becomes my default clipboard. Okay, why do I care? Because when I go back into my repertory and I want to use that same quick shortcut of the equal sign, those new symptoms that I'm now going to repertorize in a separate section will go on to that new default keyboard, clipboard. Okay, so where's our biting? Mind biting. It's about that simple. Mind biting. That's a nice big rubric, isn't it? I'm just going to go ahead and, again, using the equal sign, it goes right into my second clipboard. And I'm just going to take a quick glance down here through these cross references. And, you know, I'm kind of interested in rage with biting, idiocy with desire to bite. This is kind of what's happening with this thing. He's also very violent, isn't he? So, you know, I could choose another rubric here to combine with the biting if I wanted to. And I am, in fact, I'm going to go to this violent, because what's more violent than this guy biting himself and biting anybody he can get his hands on? Okay, so let's just throw that on that same clipboard, just in the sake in the interest of using a bit more rubrics to characterize things. And let us have a look at where we go from here. Yeah, that's what I did on this next slide that you'll see here. I put the mind biting and the mind violent together. And let's move on. There's one more thing we want to do with this case. This is the 3 able-bodied men have been trying to control him with only partial success. In a way, I was using that artistic mind, if you will, that Kent mentioned when I thought about using the violent rubric here. It's not just that he's biting, but he's, you know, being a strong man and violent, only people are not able to control him with any success. So I thought it would be nice to be able to characterize this symptom as well. So let's go to our radar program. let's open another default clipboard. So again, press and hold the Option key and click. So now I have clipboard 3. Whatever I do is going to go onto clipboard 3. And I lied. I am going to use my search. And we said that 3 strong men cannot control him. So I am going to search for the word in my advanced. Okay, here my advanced search is open. How do I get to this great search tool? Right up here at the top menu, I will choose search, advanced search, which is the function F5 key. Okay. And how about if I spell that right? For a search word, I'm going to search the word strength, and I'm going to search in, you'll see this button just above where I typed in the word. Search in open. What I want to do is search in all open repertories. I've only got one repertory, but that's going to make my program go a little more quickly. And what I've got here is a very quick search then through the Synthesis Adonis edition with every rubric containing the word strength. And it's interesting because as I think about this case, I've got delirium with increased strength. I've got insanity with increased strength. Now look, I'm just going to show you just a few of these tricky little techniques. We've got strength with delirium with delirium with increased strength with insanity, rage. This is the guy, isn't it? Mania with strength increased. Now, I've checked all those off kind of as my little shopping list. I can actually from here just drag the whole bunch over to that clipboard in one go. Yeah. And that should take care of that strength. Let's look at that clipboard now. Even out of some of these, now this rubric says 0. There are no remedies. Let's go have a look and see what's going on. There they are cross-referencing, referring me to insanity with increased strength. Okay. So this rubric is an empty rubric, as we say. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of it just for kicks. Danielle, I see your hand and I'll get to you in just a second. Yeah, if you guys raise your hand, it pokes me, which is great. So we've got clipboards now for the objective symptoms as described by the prescriber. We've got the biting, which is a very strong mental symptom. And then we have this increased strength. Now, this is a very straight, flat, I use in this instance, the sum of symptoms sorted by degrees analysis. And we have one remedy here. Now, this is pretty much what you would expect, right? That we're in this family of remedies. Oh my gosh, what's going on with me here? This is where we're going to think that we are. We might think about opium, right? We might think about, Cuprum lacus is obviously. But here's the thing. We have just one remedy here that's covering all 9 of the rubrics that we selected. I didn't group anything. I didn't combine anything. But even if I were to do that, really the definitive rubric here is this one. Are pains appearing and disappearing suddenly? Can we agree on that? And that's what's missing from both hyoscyamus and stramonium is the pace of the pains that the patient is experiencing. Now, if I wanted to, I could actually turn this into what we would call an elimination or a filter. The way I would do that is to highlight. So what that means is I only want to consider remedies that are included in this rubric or this symptom. So how I do that very quickly here is I can highlight the rubric by clicking on it with my mouse, and then with a right click, I have the option to change the qualification to an eliminative rubric. And now what's happened is that every remedy that appears here in possibilities for further study in the materia medica, every single remedy here is included in the sudden appearance and disappearance of the pains. Okay, so let's wrap this up and then Danielle, I will come to you. There's the 3 able-bodied men. That's that clipboard. I got a couple of rubrics from there. And let's see what the prescriber concludes. As we would expect, the patient had a dose of belladonna, only 1 attack followed, and it was so much less severe that the remedy was not repeated. Okay, so that's a really quick, simple one of these historic cases in which, as I said, here's the entire case, and the reporter of the case, the original homeopath, is going to give us absolutely everything we need to conclude, just as he did in this instance, that belladonna is the appropriate remedy. And it gives us an opportunity to run through the repertory, see how we can select rubrics, and at the same time, find that final key that is going to lead us to the correct prescription. I want to show you one other thing while we're at this screen, Danielle. I haven't forgotten about you. We are currently using Synthesis Adonis, and there is a little setting up here at the top of this analysis window that will work when you're using one of the synthesis versions. I currently have this set to full repertory, but let's just say, since I believe this was some case from the 1800s, let's go back and set our view, if you will, for this analysis back to Kent's repertory days. So what's happened is a number of remedies have disappeared. Why? Because the rubrics have evolved and had additions made to them over the years. With that said, we can see the simplicity and the beauty of this prescription laid out here, even as we're looking at it from the Kent's repertory. We don't need the most modern repertory to solve these old historical cases. Okay. Yeah, Danielle, go ahead. And thank you for your patience.
No worries. Thank you for just going back really quick. So when you have done like an advanced search, like I was doing a reverse rep one time and I had clicked all the check marks for like you did here. And then I was like, how do I get now all these to one clipboard? And so I was like clicking the things up on the left, up on the right that were like view all documents in one list and all that. And then I lost everything. So I just want to confirm, because I can't do two screens right now. All you did was highlight, or you just clicked on one and they all dragged over onto one clipboard?
Well, I call this my shopping list. So yeah. I take a look here and I click, you see there's a little box here just to the left of the rubrics.
Yeah.
Okay. And I just click the box, as many boxes as I want, as much. I can go through here all the way down to generalities and say, yeah, sensation of muscular strength. Yeah, I like that one. Ooh, strength after anger. See, I select as many as I like. And then any one of these, I'm going to drag down to a lower clipboard. Any one of these that I drag, it pulls the entire list in.
Wait, it did the whole list? Because I've done
only the ones I used it as a shopping list. You see that I have a little blue check mark here? Those are the ones that I said I'm interested in. I'd like to hold for some reason. So I just check them off. And then any one of these that I select, now that I have checked a few off, I can point to any one of them. And as I move it, it will take everything else that's been checked at the same time.
Okay, very cool. I like that. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. And while we were on the subject, I'm going to show you, there are some, Sujata, thank you. I see you, but I want to show one other thing here before we get off of this point, because my goal here is to empower you guys to use some of the great stuff that's in the software. So first of all, what I'm going to do, let's just say, look, I searched for the word strength in synthesis, right? I've got a bunch of these check marked. For a moment, I'm going to point to any one of these rubrics and I'm going to choose unselect all rubrics. None of them have been checked. Are you with me? So it's though I just did this search for the word strength and this is what I got, a list of 35 rubrics with the word strength. Now, this is a new thing. If you right click on any one of these, it gives you some really cool options. And I have been known to do this recently. I can take all rubrics. You see, this is the fourth item on the list. All I did is I right clicked and it says take all rubrics and create a new combined rubric added to the first free clipboard. All right. My first free clipboard is this one over here, clipboard 4. I'm going to choose that and watch what happens. The program went in and took all 35 of those rubrics, created a combined rubric and called it strength. Now, if I wanted to do this right, strength search, see, just for my own self. Okay, I'm going to rename that. So this on clipboard number 4, there's the search, there's the results of that search. They took everything and they combined them. It's sort of a double step thing for you. They combined them into something called strength. How useful is that? I've used it at times. So hopefully that helps. Sujata, do you have a question? Go ahead. You'll need to unmute yourself. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't allow you to talk. There you go.
I'm like, I was looking for that button in. Okay, so did I lose you or am I still okay?
You are still okay and you are allowed to talk. And I see that
Okay.
a couple other people have joined us. So hopefully I've empowered everyone here to talk if needed.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I kind of missed where you said the equal sign that lets you earlier on. And
all right. Very good. Okay. So are you on a Mac or a PC?
on the PC.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Let me see. I'm going to do, because I'm on a Mac, sometimes I lose my marbles and I don't remember which key it is that you're supposed to use on your keyboard for the quick take. It'll be in the shortcuts. I have it in another presentation. Let me not take the time of the group right now to show you, but it is an important thing. And I want to make sure that I get that to everyone who is here and patiently waiting. I just don't know where that presentation is right now, where I can show you on your keyboard.
Are you looking at the handy tools, that one?
Handy tools?
Wasn't there one of the last webinars you did? You had some.
Yeah. Do you remember? And I had a layout of the keyboards.
Yes.
And so where you're going to find that key, I think it is maybe quite a bit different on the PC than it is on the Mac. But on the Macintosh, it's up in the upper right, just next to the delete or backspace key. And so you'll find it in a similar place there. Yeah, it's handy tools, learn this or die kind of situation, I think. See if you can find it there. Okay. And for those who might want that handy tools, those keyboard layout things, let me just make myself a quick note here. Hold on. To send that over to customer service so that they can put that out with the video if people want to have a copy of those keyboard layouts. Okay. Any other questions right now before we bop out of here to a new case? Well, my cat is, she wants to know. I didn't ask you for a question right now. So here, actually, I want to show you guys how I save these cases, okay? Because we do get questions like this a lot from time to time. And I got to tell you, I am like super simple on this. So everything I've got on these clipboards is fine. I don't really care. Here's what I would do to save this case. I'm going to point to any clipboard. I'll just happen to be the first one, but it doesn't really matter. And when I right click, the very first option I get says Save Analysis. Now, what's that going to do? It's going to take all of the clipboards and all the rubrics that I have, and it's going to open up this Save Analysis window. Save current analysis to a folder. Well, I happen to have it in a folder that I've called Learning Cases or something. And so I'm going to put the patient's first name, the patient's last name. I'm going to put today's date, 9/20/23, and I'm going to put Belladonna or what have you, and I'm just going to save. Now that case will be there for eternity. If I wanted to, well, let's do this. Let's clear the decks and get ready for our next case. How do I do that? I'm going to right click again. I'm going to go down here where it says clear all clipboards, reset names, and set current as default. Boom. We've wiped the slate clean. This is our default clipboard again. Now, what if I want to look at that one I just did? Well, I've saved it. All I got to do is recall it. It's going to open up this window and I can select it from, oh, here it is right here. If I can't find it because my list is too long, remember I said it was 920. There it is. See how that filters things right out? And I can simply recall it. Voila, everything is back. All my clipboards have been populated with that case that I saved. So let's clear the decks and let us get back to our presentation. Now we're going to complicate things a little bit. That one, you know, we all knew it was belladonna from the beginning, right? Great study case though, because at the end of the day, if we didn't know that the pains came and went quickly, we might have given Nux vomica or something else. Yeah, Sujata, go ahead.
So what if I don't want to save it to the folder, but I want to save it to the existing client? What happens?
A big mess. I'm teasing.
Oh.
I don't. That will be a separate presentation. Let's put it that way. Because I have found that to be not only a bit confusing for me, but even more confusing to try and explain to people. And because most of the people that I'm working with in teaching in the program and guidance are relatively new, the patient management thing is just overwhelming. And we're trying to focus on these basic repertorization skills. So I'm showing you the way. You can always do it and never get lost. And honestly, I just save all of mine that way. As long as I have the patients first and last, the date I did the analysis, and a couple of notes there about the remedy, or I'm still working, or what have you, I can find those in 2 seconds. And of course, then my patient information is going to be in my own database, Microsoft Word, what have you. So I'm afraid that's the best I can say for that. Right, let's dash on, people, because we have a lot of these. Well, we're going to get through what we get through today. And then I'm so excited to say we're going to do this 2 more months in a row. So hopefully you learn a little something, and we can speed it up. There's lots to be covered here. So do come back and bear with me as we go to, oh, yeah, I just wanted to wrap up the case of colic. Again, to emphasize what Kent says, the symptoms must be judged as to their value as characteristics, and emphasizing the strange, rare, and peculiar, which this rubric, when I have it set to Kent's, the view, so in Kent's day, these are all the remedies that they had to choose from. There, you notice there's no stramonium there, there's no hyoscyamus there, there's not even, well, there's definitely no opium there, because that throws opium out right away, even though he's raging and biting and a red face and all that. Yeah. So that's sort of the key to that particular case. Let's move on. Now we have this wonderful woman, Margaret Tyler. And interestingly enough, you are going to find much of her work at the beginning, same place I found the Kent's discussions on use of the repertory, right at the beginning of your Kent's repertory. You can read that. And I love what she says here. So just a couple quotes. Every art and every science has its own jargon, and the art of repertorizing is no exception, right? She further says, you've got to know your repertory from cover to cover if you were to have the best results. And you've got to use it with brains and imagination. So this is the challenge. It's good that we start out with a paper repertory. It's good that we start out with Kent. As she said, we'd like to know that thing from cover to cover. But if we don't, we've got to apply brains and imagination to achieve good results. These are classical homeopathic cases. Clearly, there are other methodologies that one would not be doing what we're doing here, but this study and these exercises are designed to help us do better classical prescribing, in my experience, especially when it comes to doing acutes. Okay, that's where this methodology really shines. So let's go on and see what else she has to say. I'm going to take just a few quotes from her before we get into the case that she's offering us. First of all, on the grading of symptoms. Now you're going to find a lot of variation, and we're going to talk about some of these things as we go forward. The grading of symptoms. Among the generals, the symptoms of the first grade are, if well marked, the mental symptoms. All right. These take the highest rank, and a strongly marked mental will always rule out any number of poorly marked symptoms of lesser grade. We all know that, right? Now, this slide wherein she talks about the combining of rubrics, I put a little star here because I want to leave that off to the side, make sure we have time. If we do, we'll come back to that. If not, we're going to go back to it at a later time. But it's a very interesting treatment that she gives on the subject. And I believe, obviously, if you're watching the recording, you can stop the recording, you can read all this. The second in grade, so she's talking again about the order of importance of our rubrics. Second in grade after the mental system, symptoms and reactions to mental environment come such general symptoms of the patient. She calls these, I noted here at the bottom, climatic symptoms. We're talking about reactions to the environment, temperature, times and seasons, what we would call our generalities, right? But we're talking about the physical generalities in relation to the environment. This would be her second order of symptoms. She is calling climatic symptoms. Now, there's also a discussion here about what are called, she calls elimination rubrics. Now, you saw me use an elimination in that last case, where that just as a demonstration to say we are only going to look at remedies that fulfill the condition of pains coming and going suddenly. That's the idea of the elimination rubric. And she says here, from the generals, you may use certain symptoms as eliminating symptoms. Great, but they've got to be in capitals or italics in the patient as well as the repertory to be safely used as eliminating symptoms. There's definitely a safety issue with eliminating symptoms because you can inadvertently eliminate a symptom that you wanted to include. So again, this is starred. We'll be going back to this at a later time. And finally, well, not finally, next in importance comes in women, the menstrual state. She's going to talk about which elements of menstruation are important. And now, I love this quote, and now at last you come to the particulars, the symptoms that bulk so largely for the patient and for which he is, as a matter of fact, actually consulting you. I love this. You will have taken them down first with the utmost care and detail, listening to his story and interrupting as little as possible, blah, 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 but you will consider them last, for these symptoms are really of minor importance from your point of view. So who could be more clear? In conclusion, and this is my summary of in conclusion from this couple of essays by Margaret Tyler, she is recommending we use the generalities, which she's divided into three groups: the mentals, what she calls the climatic sensitivities, and the food desires and aversions, all of which must be markedly present to be of any value. And then next in line, she suggests that we use the particulars of the complaint. Okay, so with each one of our historical teachers, we're going to have a little bit different take on the prioritization of symptoms, although in general, they are all going to follow this same pattern. And of course, the peculiar and individualizing symptoms are the ones that at the end of the day, we will be focusing on throughout. But I thought it a good idea to bring in some of these historical people for our learning and reminder. Okay, so we've got a case. This is our second case, and I'm calling this one the heavy tea drinker. This particular case actually comes from Margaret Tyler, and it is reproduced at the beginning of your Kent's Repertory if you want to go back and look at it. I've taken a few liberties of underlining and some things like that. So let's go ahead and get through this one quickly, and that should do it for today. We've got a good 30 minutes. So yeah. Complaint. She's been a heavy tea drinker for 20 years, had much pain and discomfort in the stomach with flatulence immediately after eating, gradually got better till next meal, much rumbling in abdomen, appetite poor, bowels fairly regular. Now, again, the breakdown of this case is as given by the teacher in this case, Margaret Tyler. She goes on. The generals, very chilly, aggravated in spring, aggravated before and during thunderstorm, very thin, flushes of heat with sweating, which relieve. She then goes on to outline the food desires and aversions. Okay, desires salt, sweets, avert fats and acids. She was very thin, excitable person, a bundle of nerves, and on further inquiry, again, the prescriber emphasizes she is found to be very chilly. I guess being very chilly, since it's been emphasized twice, is going to be a key component to our analysis here. Again, we're taking a solved case and we're trying to understand how they were thinking and how we can apply and reproduce their thinking. Okay, so let's go on to the next page of this case. She gives us some mentals. It's interesting that she's not following the order that she recommended. Remember, she said that mentals would be the first thing, and then the next set of generals would be the climatic. Well, she's given us the climatic stuff first. She's given us next the food desires. Finally, she comes up with the mentals. Irritable in the morning, anxiety for others, here's some fears, burglars, blah, blah, blah. Impatient, suspicious, very sensitive, readily offended, startling easily with the least noise. On a whole, excitable person, a bundle of nerves. Finally, the particulars. The pain in the stomach, ameliorated hot drinks. Even wine, which suits her generally, had to be given up owing to its coldness. Well, most of us, if we're smarty pants, we already think we know the remedy, right? But this is an exercise. So we are going to now follow the lead of our teacher, and we are going to go to our first set of symptoms. So what did I do? Just as she said, I scratched out the chief complaint. I don't even remember. We don't care. We have some modalities, which will come up later. But the main point that she's making for us here is very chilly, right? Chilly, 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 chilly. So let's go to the repertory and let's just get that out of the way. Okay. So I'm back in my repertory. I've got my default clipboard set to clipboard 1, and I'm going to use 2 rubrics in this case to characterize the chilliness. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to set that as a filter for this case, because, you know, like I said, I got to follow her lead. Remember, she said it's okay to use an elimination if it's a very strongly marked symptom in the patient. And certainly when she emphasizes it twice, I think that would give us liberty to call it strongly marked. So the first place I usually look for a chilly patient is in generalities, and I'll just go GEN for generalities. Heat, lack of vital heat. Now, if you don't know that symptom, you will maybe know it after we've done this. Okay. Heat, lack of vital. If I didn't know any better, let's pretend I don't know any better. Generals. What do we say? Chilly? Chilly. CHILL. Look, chilly persons. Let's go to chilly persons and look what it says. See heat, lack of vital heat. Okay. There we go. 406 remedies. Sure, I'm sure that the medicine for this patient is there. I'm just going to use my equal sign, throws it onto the first clipboard. And I'm also going to use, what did I think I might also throw in here? Generals, air, cold air aggravates. But look, see, cold air aggravates. I had it backwards, didn't I? Here's cold air aggravates. That would be a chilly person, right? I'm going to stick them also, just using the equal sign on that same flipboard. So here it is. Here are 2 symptoms, both of which can represent our extremely chilly patient. Now, what is the problem here? If I look down on the lower left-hand side, I've got 2 symptoms and 522 remedies to consider. Well, if you remember what she said it should be strongly marked in the rubric. So here's the first thing I'm going to do. I'm going to make these into one rubric. So this is going to give us some exercise in combining or grouping. How do I do that? Let me speak through this as let me unselect all rubrics. Okay, if I want to combine these two rubrics so that they become as one for the purpose of the software program, I'm going to click with my mouse on the first one, and then I'm going to press and hold the command key. On your PC, it's going to be something else. Sujata maybe can do us the favor of telling us the name of that one if you've got that chart out. In any event, these that have now both been selected and highlighted, if I right click, my menu gives me the option to group or combine. So this is where I want to go. And I will say that for the most part, I do not do this combining thing. Now, you saw us combine earlier on that search, but that's not what we're going to do here now. We're simply going to create a group. So up here at the top, it's all set up for you. Add the selected symptoms to a group with all remedies combining. And I have to select a small letter of the alphabet to designate that group. Once I do that, you'll see what happens here. These two remedies they are now being considered by the program as one. I'm sorry, these two rubrics are being considered as one. And because my analysis strategy here is set on sum of symptoms sorted by degrees, you'll see that every remedy here is listed as appearing in just one rubric, even things like lycopodium, which clearly appears in both rubrics, but it's only getting a score of 1 for the sum of symptoms because the program itself is considering these two together as one rubric. Okay. Further then, these remedies are sorted, again, let's look at our analysis strategy, sorted by degrees. What do we mean here? Where you see, let's take a look at agaricus, where it has a score of 3. That's because in this rubric, generals, cold air aggravates. Let's go take a look at that rubric. We will see that agaricus is a grade 3. Okay. And so that's where that score of 3 comes for agaricus. Since these are considered together, they're going to give us the higher number. Allium cepa has the exact same grade as do alumina, aranya, and so on, arnica, and so forth. The order then, once we have the 1 and the 3, the grade 3, the order then becomes simply alphabetical order. Okay, so this first set of remedies, let us see how many remedies we have here that are actually just grade 3 in either one or both of those. So as I'm scrolling out to the right, I go all the way down here and I've got 60 remedies. Do you see here that tacurum? This remedy is also grade 3, but then after here, these are all grade 2s. And what did we say? We had 522 remedies. To be honest with you, for this particular filter that I'd like to create, I'm not interested in anything that's hanging out over here. Anything to the right of this remedy does not interest me because, again, what does my prescriber say? She's found to be very chilly. It's got to be strong in the patient and it's got to be strong in the symptom. So here's a new thing that I have started using as I prepared for this presentation, and I hope you guys like this like I do. If I take the last remedy here that I'm interested in, and I say I basically want to throw away everything to the right, I can make a right click here. Hopefully, there we go. And I've got a nice little menu that says hide all remedies to the right of this remedy. Do you see that one? Voila. Here it says list of hidden remedies. Okay, I don't care to see the list of hidden remedies, but what I want you to know is I've now just got 60 remedies to consider. And down here in the lower left-hand corner of this window, it says 2 symptoms, 60 remedies. So I feel really good about this as a filter. I didn't do a traditional elimination. Let's look at the difference. Right now, I've got 60 remedies. If I want to bring these back, I've got to select all and show them again. There we go. They're back. I've got 522 remedies. If I do a traditional elimination and I right click and put this as an eliminative rubric, I've still got 522 remedies in consideration. I didn't really want that. I like this other way better. So let's put those back to normal. Let's just go out to our position 60. Remember, that was the one. If I right click again, just to review this for you. Come on. There we go. Hide all remedies to the right of this remedy. There's lots of other cool things you can do with that contextual menu there. But for now, we've created our chili remedies for the purpose of this exercise. Now, let's just do something else a little cool. So we said we had 60 remedies. What if I dial this down, remember, to Kent only? Yeah, we've dialed it back to 50 remedies now. So some of the remedies that were in some of the more enhanced rubrics with newer versions of the repertory also got eliminated. Anywho, let's move on. Hopefully you got the gist of that. So there is our first clipboard. Oh, look, I used a different, I just can't seem to get things straight here when I do it on the fly, and I do it beforehand. Very chilly. Combine the two rubrics, and we used the grade 3 only as an elimination, if you will. And you saw how we did that. Okay, it looks like I used different rubrics in this analysis that I did for the presentation, but oh well. Let's move on. In the heavy tea drinker, now we've got the mentals, and I thought what we would do is just go through these mentals very, very quickly. I can basically just bang these in here for you. In the interest of time, however, I'm not going to do that. I'm actually going to go in here, and I'm going to recall. How did I do that? Remember, right click. I'm going to recall the analysis. I'm going to bring up the one that I did here, tea drink or final, because I don't want to make you guys, I don't want to waste our time banging out rubrics when we don't have to. So there's the one that I just did earlier today. There's our first rubric. Looks like we've got to do our elimination thing again. Hide all remedies to the right of this remedy. There we go. So there's our remedy filter on there. That's our first clipboard. For the mentals, for this particular case where we've got irritable in the morning, blah, 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 blah. Let's look and see where I put those. Those are on clipboard 3. So let's go to clipboard 3 and let's look at what we've got. Okay, I basically just took that list that was provided by our prescriber. And what I did was I combined a bunch of these because I thought, we really don't need, these are all basically the same idea. Remember, she's a very nervous kind of a person. So we have our irritability, impatience, excitement, the startling even from noise, and the easily offended. I just threw these all into one group. Remember how we did the group there? I can highlight all of them. When I right click, it says group or combine rubrics. And in this case, I chose the small letter N. Those are effectively treated as one rubric. You'll notice then that in our analysis, let's look at arsenicum, for example, this appears in 3 rubrics. This first combined rubric, and also the second 2. And so on all the way down. How many remedies have we got that appear in 3? Well, we're down to 21 remedies that appear in all 3 of our rubrics. Molybdenum metallicum, for example, is offended easily, anxiety for others, and suspicious. So it's not out of consideration, is it? All right, so we got our mentals. And what are we going to do? Those I call the general mentals in this instance. And then I combine them, as we saw. And now what we've got are the fears. So let's take a look at the fears. Again, this is something that you can all do. And I took the fears that looks like they're on clipboard 4, and I also did some combining. So let's just take a look at that and see if there's any takeaway on clipboard 4. Yeah. Fear of robbers, fear something will happen. And then we have these narrow place, in a crowd, room full of people, fear of suffocation. That's all the same idea, isn't it? So I just group those again into a group. As long as the letter of the alphabet is different than any of the other groups, you're good. Now, the details of why we choose various rubrics to group, we can talk about in a bit more detail. It's also discussed by Margaret Tyler in one of those slides that I skipped previously. Okay, but suffice it to say, if we take, let's say, clipboard 3, which were what we called our general mentals, we take our fears, and then let's put our chili remedies on top of that. So I'm just pressing and holding the command key. And if I put our chili remedies on here, what are we looking like here? What kind of a medicine are we looking at? Remember, it's a medicine for the patient, not for her problems with the drinking of the tea, right? All right, let's go back to my prepared presentation because we're just about to run out of time here. Now we get down to the particulars. Remember, we only need these as we get to the point of being able to individualize the prescription. So what she says is the pain in the stomach was ameliorated by hot drinks. Even wine, which suits her greatly, had to be given up owing to its coldness. On my clipboard 6, I have got those symptoms. All right. So let's take what we're looking at now. Let's zoom it out just a bit. Hopefully we can still see those. And let's bring our clipboard 6, which has those modalities of the stomach pain. Warm drinks ameliorate, aggravated after cold drinks. I guess I can make that a little bit bigger. And what's the conclusion of the matter? It's fairly straightforward, isn't it? We wouldn't want to give phosphorus because we don't have the warm drinks ameliorate, and it's a very strongly marked symptom for arsenicum, as well as everything else that we can imagine. Okay, and of course the fear of robbers is there in a grade 4. We could have thought about Nux for her as well with the hot drinks. Let's see, but here there's no fear of robbers in the room full of people. Let's see what Margaret Tyler has to say about this case in the conclusion. Okay, here's the discussion. In her assessment, the constitution of the patient suggested either arsenicum or phosphorus, with the excitability, with the chill, and so on. We have thus come to these 2 remedies by only considering the general symptom or symptoms of the patient, and that's my note, clipboards 1 through 5. The pain in the stomach ameliorated hot drinks, even wine, which suited her generally, had to be given up owing to its coldness, and as phosphorus patients crave cold drinks, even ices, and gastric troubles, we're left with our arsenicum. Arsenicum album 33 doses at 6 hourly intervals, and the pain ameliorated, which had been present for years, in a few days, and in a few weeks she was almost well, being much less excitable. Bonus. So that is the second of the historical cases that I have for you today. Let me just bring the entire thing up for you now. By using the F8 key on my keyboard, it will bring up all of my clipboards. And if I kind of zoom out a bit, you'll be able to see where on clipboard 5 here we have her aversion to fat and also her aversion to sour foods and acids. Now, Margaret Tyler does discuss the reasoning, her reasoning behind choosing arsenicum, even though there's the aversion to acids, which is not included in that remedy. And of course, it's because it's covering the totality. So there you have that case. Do we have questions that people would like, additional questions you'd like to go over? Or feedback of any kind?
This is wonderfully helpful. How do we access the recordings?
Oh, that's a great question. The recordings, as you know, you received an invitation from, I believe it's the order sales desk at RadarOpus.us. And you should receive, I usually ask him to make sure and let people know when the recording has been posted, but let me take you to our recorded sessions page where you can find literally everything that's been done. So if you see this link here, the homepage, RadarOpus.us, let's see if I can click through. With any luck, I will be able to click into there. And this is our homepage here. If you see where it says training here, and you will go down to free on-demand videos.
Great.
There, yeah, but here but But there's a cautionary note. There are, like dozens and dozens of these. So let me just show you how you're going to find the ones that I've done if they're of interest to you. If you go to this little search thing and you just put Marcy in there, et voila, I have my Getting Started series, parts 1, 2, and 3. That just is really the basics. Successful acutes. There are some, the tools one is not really here. Anyway, you can go, as I said, if you go to our homepage, and I would encourage you to, remember it's RadarOpus.us, and then on training, you can find those free things right there. So if you don't get an email from sales, check there and see if it's been, and you can always, let me go back to this. So my name is Marcy Burns. That's it right there. My website, I believe, is going to forward you to my practice website, which is chicohomeopathy.com. So I do encourage anyone who is interested in follow-up training. I think we have some kind of a deal online, or, just a quick question, reach out. I can send you the stuff. Yeah, Sujata, you had a comment or a question?
Yeah. So I'm trying to do a little, so we were looking at the case and arsenicum and nux vomica. And so if I want to differential diagnose and see which remedy in terms of the locality out of the first 3 or 4 remedies, is there a way to look at and see which remedy represents the symptoms that I'm looking for? Or
Brilliant. Let us do that. I'm going to go there right now. Prior to doing that, I want to show you guys my last and final slide. If you are interested in upgrading your software, I've shown you a few things that are new in here. With the right clicking and those filters and all. They do have a special going on where, you can do your upgrade and like pay for it in installments. So I would encourage you to check that out. Now, let us get into our advanced search and see if we can answer your question. So I'm back at my advanced search. If you recall, it's the function F5 key, which will open this window up for me. And if you've done something already, as I have, and I want to clear everything out, I'll just use what I call the pink eraser, although it's not pink, it says clear all searches. Double click here. In the remedies field, where I'm going to enter arsenicum, ARS period, because that's the one I want. Enter, and I'm going to put nux-vomica, and I'm going to have to mouse down to get the correct nux on my list. And what other one would you like me to put in here? Should I put phosphorus or?
Yeah, phosphorus sounds
all
good.
right, let's just put phos. Now, you notice, again, there's a big long list, but as soon as I put the period for the abbreviation that I know, phosphorus pops right up, and I'm going to hit the enter key. Now, if I remember up here, we said search in open repertories only. Well, the only repertory I have open is synthesis. So for now, we're just going to do that. And if I hit this button to start the search, or this magnifying glass, I'll walk you through it slowly for the first time. What we've got in this window now are the results of a search. I am showing, this is a useless search, by the way, but I'm showing it for the purpose of contrast and compare. In this results of search window here on the left, where my table of contents becomes results of search, the system is telling me that I have 4,000 and so rubrics that have all 3 of these remedies. Not very useful. Let's see how we can refine this now in our advanced search window to suit our interest. First of all, what I'm going to do is, as you said, we want to pick a localization. Let's just say stomach, since this tea drinker person, right, was having the problem with the stomach. Would that be okay?
Mm-hmm.
STOMACH. So I'm going to put a word in the word search. Now, if I, again, repeat that same search, again, I'm just looking in that repertory. Now I'm getting all 3 remedies in the stomach chapter, and I've got 235 rubrics. Wouldn't it be more helpful to be able to see them separately, right? Or comparing and contrasting. That's what you're asking for. So what I got to do is go to this button here at the top of my remedies search fields. And I can do this. I can say symptoms for each remedy individually. Let's start with that. Okay. I'm still just searching for the word stomach. It's not the stomach chapter. It's the word stomach. That's okay. It's close enough for us. We don't need to, get too particular here. We don't need to go too arsenicum on ourselves here, right? Okay. So notice, you see where I'm clicking and I've got 3 different tabs. Let me hide this table of contents so we have a little more room to work with. See, it says stomach and arsenicum. And here are 755 symptoms of arsenicum in the stomach. All right. Here are our nux vomica symptoms. Now, some of these symptoms are also shared with arsenicum. Some are also shared with all 3, but they're giving us nux by itself. And they're also going to give us a phosphorus tab. Okay, so that's cut 2 of how we could do our search, is show them each with their individual symptoms. The one that I like to use is this one down here at the bottom that says symptoms which they have common and exclusive. Because this will help us see what filters to the top. Let's do the search. This will see what filters to the top after the common symptoms. So, whoops. I did it twice. Okay, so this first tab that we have is all 3 together. All right, we know they're 235. That's just, in this case, we could call those the common symptoms, stomach symptoms for those remedies. Now, here are the arsenicum ones exclusively, without phosphorus or nux. And I've got 310. So now I can look down here and I can see what's happening. Look at the coldness, the complaints with the coldness, and so on and so forth. Here are my nux symptoms, exclusively nux, that have nothing in common with arsenicum or phosphorus. All right. And finally, then this last tab. So I have 4 tabs total. The last one would be phosphorus without arsenicum or nux. Hopefully that helps. We could also add another word here. I could go stomach pain, enter, and now I want with both of these words together. So now I'm just going to look at, compare and contrast the stomach pains amongst these 3 remedies. Okay, these are the common pains with the 3: cutting pain, darting pain. Be interesting if they have, they don't have burning pain, you see, in common, the 3. Oh, yes, they do. You would think. Okay, one more thing I'm going to show you is that I can change, because these are polycrest remedies, and I'm searching. You see this little blue dot right here? I can press that little blue dot, and it's going to open up a preferences window for my extractions. Let's say I really only want to see the degree 3 and 4 rubrics. In other words, the rubrics where that remedy is very strongly represented. I can uncheck these boxes for arsenicum. Let's do the same for all 3 of our remedies. You see, I'm just unchecking the box and saying, okay, these are the preferences. Now for my extraction, I only want to see grades 3 and 4. Okay, now let's run it and see where some keynotes and highlights really begin to come out for these 3. Remember, we're just looking at synthesis Adonis, and we're just looking at grades 3 and 4. So here are a few stomach pain rubrics they have in common, but here are the arsenicum ones that are grade 3. They're all grade 3, I'm afraid, exclusive to arsenicum. It's the cold stuff, the ice cream, with nux. There seems to be, there's the cramping, there's the bloating, probably, if we think about the gluttony and all of that, and the liver, and then of course over here, actually have some cold drinks ameliorate the pains. So does that answer your question? Is that helpful?
Very helpful. Yeah.
Excellent. This is a lot of information to digest. I do hope that everyone has managed to get some kind of a takeaway here. I love doing these. I would appreciate your feedback if you would like to just, again, make a note of me here, Marcy Mearns. You could go to my website, shoot me an email, tell me what you think. If there are specific questions you have, I'm going to do 2 more months of these. So I'm going to try and dig out some increasingly complex cases that we can dig into and try and learn together to improve our prescribing skills, or better said, our analysis skills. Okay. So with that, I'll just stop the share, and maybe we can all come back, and I guess we can't see one another, can we? It's such a shame. I promise I'll get that fixed for next time. Okay.
This has been great. Thank you. Thank you.
It's my
You've
pleasure.
saved my life.
Oh, well, that's all I needed to hear. Good. I can rest easy tonight then. Who said that?
That's Karen. You can put a therapist, you put a therapist out of business. This has been life-saving.
Yeah. Well, I wish I could put my own therapist out of business, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to go have a double session now after this. Anyway, thank you all so much. I look forward to the next time, and yeah, do good work. All the best.
Neat. Thanks.
Bye, Fred. Bye.